a topic that we don't hear much about, nuclear energy in Ireland. We can look at it from a negative point of view, or we can look at it from the point of view of these people here, who package it in a way of new hope for environmental goals in Ireland and for genuine climate change in Ireland. Because it's such a wide topic and such a short time, I'm going to have to rush through it, well not rush through it, but only skim the surface of it. I must assume that because of the nature of the people that we have here in the Sustainability Summit, that you're well familiar with climate change, with the potential impacts of extreme weather events, increasing temperatures, flooding events. You're aware that the oceans are becoming more acidic with the increasing temperatures, not just leading to increasing sea levels, but the acidity affecting the basic food chain, the marine food chain of plankton, krill, etc. And the importance of that for the human population. We know that pollution is increasing and that the likes of certain cities are banning diesel cars because of NOx emissions, NOx emissions. We also know that the petrochemical industry is losing a very important feedstock. So it's important for all those reasons that we stop using or dramatically reduce the use of fossil fuel burning. I have to acknowledge as well that there's tremendous amount of work being done in Ireland and across the globe by a lot of people with a lot of intelligence and doing really, really good work. That work needs to continue. It's a lot of talented people, so we must succeed with renewables. We must also succeed with efficiency. But what I'm trying to say here is that it's not nearly enough. The way we're going is not nearly enough. As we know, the COP21, the COP21, we had a lot of the national determined commitments to reduce energy, including 37% of our energy from renewables by 2040. Now, even if we do everything that we said in Paris, the World Energy Outlook shows that the emissions these are emissions up as far as Paris, and these will be the emissions beyond Paris if we do everything we said at Paris. But if this is the trajectory we must follow in order to get to a 2-degree scenario, and we know 2 degrees is really short, so globally we're not doing enough. People in Ireland say, well, we're doing a lot better. Well, the EPA don't agree, because these are the emissions from Ireland up as far as 2015. And there's a nice decrease in it, partly because of the recession and partly because of the good work that people are doing in the renewables area and energy efficiency. This is the pathway that the EPA say we will follow if we do everything fully, every plan that we hope to introduce. This is the pathway here of where we're going to go if we do everything that we have currently, all our current plans. Now this is the trajectory that we need to follow to get down to 2030 and 2050 figures according to our white paper. So we can see that we're in really big trouble, that we're not going in the direction that we should be going in. And then we have, of course, the agricultural emissions, which I'm going to show you now, which is a big backstop in our efforts to reduce carbon. So you can see that the agricultural emissions are huge, so we're in a big problem. The only difficult, well, there's another difficult with that is that we're paying for the privilege. This is a graph produced by the UCC in association with the ESRI. And what it shows you is that if you reduce carbon by, say, 30%, 40%, 50%, up to 80%, this is the cost of the next ton of carbon to be mitigated. It essentially tells you that if we meet our targets using the existing technologies of wind, solar, biogas, carbon, combined cycle gas turbines, and imports, we get to our 80% target, our next ton of CO2 will cost us €20,000 to mitigate. So that's not sustainable. So there's a need for realism. Vattenfall are a huge organisation in Scandinavia, and they produce energy from all kinds of sources. This is what they have analysed their different power systems to produce it. And I'm trying to show you here is that nuclear is a low carbon technology. Obviously gas, heat, oil, coal, they're out. But the likes of hydro, wind and biomass are low carbon. So they're the items we should be focusing from a low carbon point of view. But it's not just about carbon. NOx emissions are important as well. And we find that nuclear is low enough on the NOx, where the likes of certain biomasses are not low enough on NOx to get us across the line here. Also, we've heard about acid rain that forms from sulfur dioxide, and they know that nuclear is a low sulfur dioxide technology as well. So nuclear is possible. So, skipped over one there. Sorry, it won't go back. The slide that skipped over has said, is discusses about the objections in Ireland to nuclear. And it's on the basis, okay, we know it's good enough from the emissions, but what about people objecting from the point of view of size, of cost, of safety and on waste. So the first issue I'm going to show you here is on the size one, and there are a number of reactors. This reactor from NuScale, a 50 megawatt reactor, has just applied for licensing in the United States. The Pebble Bay reactor, an ultra-safe reactor, built almost completed in China. It'll go live in 2017, 2018. Terrestrial Energy intends to apply for a 190 megawatt unit in the United States in 2 years' time. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a Maltec stable solid reactor, which comes in two models, a 40 megawatt and a 150 megawatt unit, eminently suitable for the island of Ireland. The largest unit in Ireland at the moment is over 300 megawatts, so these will fit into our system fairly well. I haven't got time to go into the technology behind stable salt, but just to point out that this is the reactor core. It's made up of a lot of fuel rods. These fuel rods are open to atmosphere. It's very important to remember that there's no pressure involved in it, but they're filled with salt. They're filled with table salt to 60%, sodium chloride, but also salts of uranium and plutonium. Uranium trichloride, plutonium trichloride. There's a bigger picture of it here. The salt is here under atmospheric pressure. The salt at 450 degrees centigrade melts and becomes like a water-like. It becomes a fluid. So it operates in the melted condition. The machine will operate at about 650 degrees. This other salt circulates around, takes the heat away from the core. It gives that heat up to another heat exchanger, which eventually goes off and delivers heat to a steam generator where we produce electricity. The benefits of that from a safety point of view are that, first of all, the fuel is already melted, so it cannot melt down. That's one of the huge safety implications of the salt reactor. It's also at atmospheric pressure, so it can't explode. It doesn't have that pressure to explode. It has heat, but the heat is taken away. Also, the water and steam are nowhere near the reactor. Water can separate at 750 degrees out into its constituents of hydrogen and oxygen, and when that hydrogen is released through the atmosphere, it can explode as it did in Fukushima. So this is not possible with this type of reactor. It's also proliferation resistant in that it's much more difficult to get the uranium and plutonium from the spent fuel or from the fuel itself than from regular reactors. And anyway, they don't use regular reactors to make weapons, nuclear weapons. As we see from North Korea, they're making their nuclear weapon without a power-generating nuclear reactor. It cannot explode like a nuclear bomb. No nuclear power station can explode like a nuclear bomb. It's not enriched enough. The uranium must be enriched to over 90 to 95% to get nuclear grade, weapons grade uranium in a power station they operate at 4.5%, 5% max. The machine will be kept underground, so there's no perimeter radiation, and in the event of everything going wrong, there's a salt plug kept cool by electricity. If the electricity fails, the plug will melt and the salt will just go into a tank underneath. So it's in a safe situation. Nuclear is already the safest thermal generation, safer than coal, oil, biogas, natural gas. And this will make it markers of orders of magnitude more safe. The Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland, they already know in a study done about 5 years ago that nuclear could produce 3 million tonnes of CO2 at a cost which is less than onshore wind high penetration, offshore wind, wave and tidal. But this reactor takes cost to a new level. This can be built on conservative estimates, and they're independently verified, of $2 a watt, which is approximately the same as onshore wind turbines, cheaper than offshore wind turbines, with a capacity factor of over 90%, whereas wind turbines have a capacity factor of about 30 to 5%. Keep using the wind turbines, but these are a great addition. They will be able to produce power, again conservatively estimated, at $45 per kilowatt hour, which is a lot less than anything that's on the Irish market at the moment. The waste, I didn't say this earlier, but the existing waste in existing power stations can be used in these reactors, thereby burning the waste and reducing the overall stockpile of waste. There's about 70,000 tonnes of waste in the United States. That will keep the United States going in this type of reactor for thousands of years. The resultant waste from this type of reactor, the stable salt reactor, is only active for less than 300 years. So this solves the waste problem. In any way, the waste is a small quantity and it's managed. We know where it is. It's in that swimming pool or it's in that building or whatever it is. Unlike fossil fuels, which distribute the waste globally. Where would we put these nuclear reactors? Well, because they're so small, we could build, say, for instance, 150 megawatts. 8 units of 150 megawatts is 1,200 megawatts, and we could put them in Moneypoint. down the west coast, where the coal-fired station is at the moment. It is retiring by about 2025 and probably 2030 by the time it actually retires. It's connected to the biggest overhead cables in Ireland, 400 kV cables, which bring the power from Murray Point up to Kildare and County Meath. That would be 1200 megawatts. We could put another 4 units there in Carnshaw Point, the original location that back in the 70s when Ireland was going to go nuclear. There's a wind farm there at the moment. These would fit in along with the wind farm. They're going to be underground, a very small footprint. There's about 5 other locations which are suitable in Ireland. And one solution for integration of the nuclear and the renewables. We always talk about one of the difficulties of renewables is their intermittency, and we need storage. We need lots of storage. Well, these can provide the storage. And the reason is that when the wind is blowing and the sun is shining, you can have wind turbines and solar panels providing the electricity. In the meantime, the salt reactor is still working, heating up the salt and putting the salt into salt tanks, hot storage tanks. So that when the wind stops or at night time, the heat can be taken from those salt tanks and used to generate electricity and supply the electricity to the people. So it's an alternative solution to storage that can integrate renewables and all the low carbon technologies to give us some kind of a chance of meeting our emissions goals, carbon dioxide, NOx and SOx at a reasonable price. Essentially what I'm saying is that the current path, although we're doing great work, it's not enough. New nuclear, we think, is part of the answer, and I think we're going to see a lot more about that in the next 2, 3, 4 years. Particularly when we can't meet our climate targets and when the pressure for cost is coming on to us. It's clean, it's safe, it's affordable. I think it's inevitable. And I'm offering an invitation for anybody here who wants to ask more questions. I'll be down at the end of the room. Or if you want to find out more or join us, it's free to join. We're a group of voluntary, non-vested interest people, specialists in engineering, science, medicine and radiation physics. We don't stand to make any money from this, it's just purely on a voluntary basis. And you can join us and find out more at www.BENI.ie. BENI stands for Better Environment with Nuclear Energy. And if you have any questions now, I can take them or I can take them later. Thank you very much.